A couple of weeks ago, I put a video up about the integrated dust extraction system in the workshop, which you can see going through here. And I promised you a Blastscape build video. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make one of these bad boys. Let's get started. Welcome to With Grain, everybody. The show where I turn beautiful things into firewood. No, wait. If you have an integrated system like this, you need to be able to isolate all of the inlets individually. They work very simply. It's literally a slider that goes across the opening and either opens it up through the hole or blocks it up through there. That way you can isolate all of the system down to the one you're using and get maximum suction for that particular job. So let's get on to building it. They're pretty simple, but it's worth doing it properly because the better job you can do, the better suction you're going to get. So I've got here some 12mm ply, which is plenty thick enough. You could even go thinner than this if you really want to. Now, I can't remember how wide I did the other one, so let's just measure this one. Let's see, 15. Sounds good to me, so I'm just going to do 15 there. I'm going to probably cut these out on the table saw, so I don't really need to measure the lines. I'm just trying to get an idea as to where they've got to go. It's a good idea when you cut these to make sure that when you slide them, the grain of the wood is going along each other, not against each other, because if you do it against each other, you're going to get more friction. I like to have it so the slider can slide all the way through and out the other side, which means that any dust that gets caught up in the hole gets pushed out the other side, so it becomes self-cleaning. I see a lot of them where they're only literally this big and they just go like this and then they shut again like that, which I don't think is as good. Also, this means that if you can make sure the holes line up, then you'll get a much nicer force going through the middle. So we need 215 square, which is a pain because this is a 27 centimeter board, but we'll make do. So we're going to need 15 centimeters. I marked that out already off the back of the blade. I'm going to use a stop block because then it means I can just cut two the same size without worrying about it. Now these are going to be too long. I should have taken the clamp off afterwards, shouldn't I? So if you do that, bear in mind these have got to be square, or need to be square. Just line it up against the back of the blade and re-clamp it, and then you should be good to go. So these are our offcuts. Now I think what I'm going to do while I'm here is cut 4 pieces. Just eyeball it up. These are going to be the edges so we can stick them together, and also the handles on the end. The nice thing about using a table saw with a sled like this is that if the piece that you're cutting does fly back, it's only going to hit here, so you're nicely protected. But it's a useful thing to be able to use something like this to stop the block from moving if you're getting too close for comfort. This is just a foam-backed sanding block. Cost about £1.50. Very useful. So I think I've cut the slider too wide. What I should have done is measured it afterwards, which is what I'm going to do now. And I'm going to just measure this against it. Now it needs to have such a slight amount of room to slide. You don't want it sticking against it, but we are going to sand the edges so we can afford to lose some material in sanding. I'm just going to sand all the edges off to make it a nicer thing to handle. So we're getting to the stage where we can put this together. When you're lining all this up and laying this out, make sure that you've got the grain running in the right direction. It makes life a little bit nicer and they slide a lot better. I learned this after doing 2 or 3 of the ones that I did here. Normal wood glue. Apply it to the pieces of edging. Don't go too close to the edge because you don't want too much, well, you want to avoid squeeze out if you can on the inside. I haven't forgotten to drill the holes, by the way, before you start wondering. I learned the hard way that it was a lot easier to do it this way round. If you're finding value in this video, please hit the like button down there and subscribe. I'm doing a video a week, at least at the moment. I tried to do a few little bonus ones if I get the time, children permitting. I'm going to nail this because I'm lazy and I can. Now make sure you pull the slider out before you let them dry, otherwise you end up with a really nicely made doorstop. So we need to let this dry and come back in a minute, well, half an hour. Right, we're dry enough. Now I need to mark the middle. That's going to give us our centre. We'll clean these up a little bit, but if you find that these are too tight, sand this piece down a little bit and you'll find it'll loosen up, but don't do it too much because you don't want it to be too loose, and they will loosen up over time. So it's time to cut the hole out. So a little tip on this is to drill a pilot hole first, all the way through. And that means that if you mess it up or you need to go through with the hole cutter from both sides, which I'll show you in a minute, you've then got a pilot hole that's perfectly in the middle and you don't need to worry about it. This is a variable size hole cutter. I found it on Amazon. It was about £20, I think. I'll put the link in the description. It's the only one I could find which actually had a 68mm cutter. You can now, if you're really brave, use one of these. Personally, they terrify me half to death because they're spinning around with large pieces of metal sticking out the side. So I prefer to use one of these. In actual fact, the other type actually does a better job, but for what we're doing, this is fine. There we go. Nice. Now, as I said before, this obviously needs to go in, and it's ever so slightly too small a hole, so we need to do a little bit of sanding. I'm going to use my homemade spindle sander, which I made the other day, to widen this hole out slightly so we can get this in. Now I don't want to do the other one because I wanted a flush fit. We'll see how we go. Yeah, nice tight fit. Now we need to glue in this piece here. Now I'm going to use a combination of CA glue, and I'm going to also silicone it around the edge so we can make sure we get a good seal. So you need to make sure that obviously when you put it in, you're not blocking the hole, you're not blocking the slider from moving. So slide it so it's shut, and then we can glue the edge. You put the super glue in, then slide it out. Then if you've got activator, spray it on. If you don't do that, any super glue that's obviously slipped through to this side will be glued to it as well. There's a little bit on here, but I can sand that off in a minute, and that's then pretty strong. Now this stuff is crazy strong, but I noticed on a couple of them that I made that you get a bit of a wiggle there, so that's why I decided to glue this one in. So I'm just going to add a bit of silicone to this as well, just as a caution, to make sure we've got a good seal. Not all silicones are equal. Try and get 100% silicone if you can. This stuff, which is a fix-all type, is much stronger than the stuff that you get for your bathroom and your door seals and your windows and all that kind of stuff. dries super strong. So there we go. We'll just need to put the handle on the other end. You can see that you've got a fairly clean line going all the way through there. There's a little ridge here, but as the airflow will be coming this way, that doesn't matter too much. So nothing will get stuck in the edges, nothing will get jammed in there and stop it sliding, and then anything that does get caught up around here, as soon as you shut it, it gets pushed out and then ejected. So it's self-cleaning. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that is a much nicer thing than those silly old plastic ones. So, have fun making your system. I hope it works as well as mine does. If it doesn't, let's have a chat in the comments and I'll see if I can help. See you next time. Bye.